Well, and hopefully, as part of our egg-cellent adventure.
You seem kind of like a bit wacky. Would you rather, do you have OCD or would you rather have like ADD? It seems like you may have possibly both of them.
I have a right to be in this debate. Now you sit down and let me do my job. And I have every right to be in this debate. How dare you? I have worked very hard.
Not.
The fuck are you doing?
Get your hand off my penis!
I have to go to the fucking hospital. Holy shit. There are fucking scissors sticking out of my fucking arm.
Excellent. Not.
I was listening to our last episode and I was writing down the best quotes. I was thinking, albino nuts in your face. Pretty good. Wha-pow. Wha-pow. You kept saying, wha-pow. Pull your nuts out of your face. Pow.
Man, it was fucking hilarious that the girl I was dating had just fucking left me on for this other dude, and I was mad and angry, and it was like a 5-month bender where we drank like a gallon of some hard liquor every night. Just fucking every night. There was another the same kid actually out of the same hotel one night. We had gotten super shit faced, and he decided like it fucking, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the fucking morning to go out and get some food. And yeah, he got his food, and then we were staying right on the Arkansas-Oklahoma line. And they were like doing this road construction, so he got this brilliant fucking idea, you know, to get the fucking like big orange barrels or whatever and block off this big like 6-lane highway.
Right.
With them. So the cops obviously
orange
show
barrels.
Up. Yeah, dude, he like rolled them out on the middle of the fucking road because they were, you know, controlling traffic and shit, and he just changed their configuration to what he wanted. And then he saw the Oklahoma Highway Patrol coming, or the police over on the Oklahoma side coming. So he ran back over into Arkansas, and like he saw the Arkansas cops coming, so he jumped down into like this little culvert and crawled underneath the road to the other side of the road. And like he gets out, and he's fucking behind this fucking tourist center or whatever, and this Arkansas cop catches him, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Man, we're just playing tag football."
Tag football.
So they fucking drove him over, and the Oklahoma cops grabbed him and gave him a ticket for like blocking the highway and shit, and then
Look, he just
gave
got a
him
ticket.
back to the Arkansas cops, who arrested him for being drunk in public and took him to fucking jail. So he caught a charge on both sides of the state line at the same fucking time.
And then have to go to 2 different fucking courts. What a pain in the ass.
Yeah. It was fun.
Fucking beautiful.
Yes.
The good old days, right?
Sure. I woke up every morning and ate a Sonic Junior cheeseburger because that's all I could afford, because I spent all the rest of my money on liquor and gas at the time.
Like, how do you survive? I can't believe how I survived now. And then I was like, man, I used to do so much less. I used to have like nothing.
Just have
I was able to get by. You know,
no fucking responsibilities, man.
No kids.
Yeah. My wife thinks I'm kidding whenever I tell her we're just gonna fucking get an RV and take the fuck off.
Dude. So many people are fucking doing that now.
I can't yet because I got kids. I don't feel like
yeah, how the fuck is that gonna work?
Yeah, trying to support. I mean, it works, dude. I used to, whenever I lived with the hippies and shit, you know, we were all kinds of fucking people that had their kids with us and shit.
I don't know if call that working. I mean, I saw
We
a
were-
lot kid.
we
and
were
they
living.
doing that. But they were yelling at their little kid like, "You gotta hustle." I was like, "It's 3 o'clock in the morning. She's not gonna sell any more necklaces, bro."
No, it wasn't like
Fuck that.
Not that shit. No. This is a
You know
Rainbow
what I'm talking
Family.
about,
It was a
though.
totally different vibe. Yeah. Well, that's just a little. You shouldn't be on. I mean, if you're on a lot with your kid, it's because they're fucking sleeping. I mean, not. I'm talking about like the Rainbow Family and shit. You know, we lived in like national forest property a month at a time, then moved to the next one.
Right.
So
Shit.
You know.
Duck and die.
they were just living. Haha.
Nice job, James. Fucking dummy.
Oh, what a hoe coast. What a hoe coast.
Hey. What can I say? I got my moments.
Why is
I'm like sitting here like, dude, I hope I'm not slacking too much. You called me what was it, yesterday? Just to tell me like you'll do the intros or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fired already. I'm fucking fired.
It's just easier for me. I mean, it's less for me to fuck with.
No, I was just thinking of when you were called, like, I think I'll just do the show by myself because you suck.
No, that's
Like, wait a
boring.
minute. We're losing listeners already.
Nah, we're picking people up, man.
Yeah.
We're growing.
Well, send me the login info for this stuff. So, like the Patreon.
Okay.
So I'll make sure I have it. Because I'll start with Miles. Did you get that uploaded? I'll start with that one.
Yeah, I think I did.
And I'll pop that out. Oh, man. Fucking working on this show. I got another shoot coming up in September. It's going to be fucking nuts.
Woohoo, here he is.
Getting back to work.
So today on the adventure, we have an extremely special guest, someone that I am super excited to be talking to. When I was presented with the opportunity to talk to this individual, I almost choked on my own tongue. He is in probably one of my all-time favorite movies, which, considering the movie, it's really hard for some people to understand that, maybe.
Raiders of the Living Dead, yes.
I was thinking maybe more like Vape Wars,
Right.
but
Oh, wow.
Dude, I'm gonna dig into your catalog today. We have his first movie. It was considered one of Richard Pryor's biggest flops. Some fucking how, I don't even understand how.
That's impossible.
It was such a good fucking movie, and it's super poignant today. Because it pointed to all the same fucking issues that people are, protesting about and whatnot. We have Scotty Schwartz today, the master Bates from the toy himself.
Yes, Matt. Yes, James. I am here.
Man, and we are super excited to have you. So, it had... I don't know what it would be like. You were 13 whenever the toy was being made and all that. Like, you're obviously portrayed as a much younger character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
How is it working with Richard after he set himself on fire?
It was great. I got the after Richard. I got the one that was more caring, giving, loving, wanted to share information, wanted to teach. I was the beneficiary of that. And because I was basically the only kid on the set, other than my understudy, or the kid that was my stand-in, I should say.
Right.
I got to spend pretty much 4 months, with Richard, and it was phenomenal.
That's fantastic.
Incredibly fucking jealous. I'm not even gonna lie, man. Like, I would give both my nuts to just have a minute with Rich. He's one of the main reasons I'm a comic. I mean, and the toy. It kind of forms some of the basis of what my comedy is about. I mean, my main bit, I'm an albino, is just, talking about the weird racism that we experience. And it's really similar to the African-American experience because, we're still treated relatively similar to how they were treated here before the Civil War. Over in Africa. So it's like, I kind of get it, because I follow our experience a little bit.
I don't know if you can actually get what they're going through, or I can actually get what they're going through, because it's just different.
I don't personally, but I read the stories of, like, for example, in Tanzania, where albinos are hunted still.
So you're not going there on vacation anytime soon?
Oh no. Or Malawi or Zambia or a cadre of other beautiful African countries. I would love to go visit, but I step off the plane, it's like my dick and balls become a Marvin Gaye song, and sexual healing they do not do, so I'm just going to avoid that shit like the plague. But I'm from the South, and I have family who is on that racist side. So, like, I watched The Toy again not too long ago, just to kind of refresh myself. And as an adult, especially with what we're going through in these current times, I'm like, wow, they slapped you in the face with the racism. Like, they didn't even wait. It's just, and it's a remake, which I was unaware of until,
it's a remake of a French film, but it's not. But it's not black and white in the French film. It's a white guy with a white kid. Right. But Columbia had the rights to it, and they had a deal with Richard, and
Richard Donner.
Just pretty much almost nobody that could have pulled that off except him, Red Fox was too old, and Flip Wilson was too old, but Richard was the guy. He was the man, and he was pretty much not at the top at that moment because of, him burning himself up and all of that, but he was still considered the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, the way he was able to show and portray the experience of what that would be like and still make you laugh. When I watched it again last night, I was dying.
Oh, there's some funny stuff in it. I mean, I've asked this question of just about anybody. Doesn't make a difference what color, creed, anything else. If somebody came up to you and said, listen, we're going to pay you $3,000 for a week's time to be that kid's buddy and friend and play toy, would you do it? And pretty much everybody was like, dude, I got to call my boss. I got to see if I can take the time off.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm freelance,
dude. It's really a relationship film between two people who have nothing in common. They're on total ends of the spectrum. But then it's the kid wanting to be loved, the father not understanding or not knowing how to do that. And the other guy, who's the complete opposite of everything, he's the one who sort of brings it all together.
So what kind of effect did that have on you? I mean, you were 13 years old, so you were young, super impressionable, and your first feature film is this massive production, with all these extremely famous people about probably one of the most hot button topics. Even back in the 80s, it was a hot button topic.
No, there was none of that was discussed, went on, none of that stuff. Really? I was working with a group of not only professionals, but iconic legends in all different forms and fashions. I mean, you've got Ned Beatty, Wilfred Hyde White, both of them had been in film for decades. Then you've got Richard Donner, the director, who had been directing since the 60s. So he's decades. He's an icon. Ray Stark, who's the producer.
I mean,
he worked with Barbra Streisand. He did, Funny Girl, Funny Lady, Stars Born. I mean, this is Ray Stark. And then you get Pryor and Gleason. And between the two of them, they got damn near 100 years of experience. Gleason started in the 30s.
Yeah.
Right. Realistically. So he's, 50 years in, and Richard was 30 years in at this point, 25 years in. Yeah. But I was a different duck, as I put it. I was not the typical kid. I was brought up in Central Jersey, but my father was a movie buff. So I learned a lot about Hollywood and the movies several years before I even got into show business. It's like how many, 8-year-olds in the mid 70s knew the Lone Ranger and knew Roy Rogers and knew the Adventures of Captain Marvel from the 40s, the serials, the Spider Returns and all that kind of stuff, the Fighting Devil Dogs. I knew all this stuff. So I knew who Gleason was. I knew who Pryor was. I was a tremendous fan of both of them. I didn't do a lot of impressions of Richard. I just never could get the voice perfect. But Gleason I did all the time because I was a Smokey and the Bandit junkie. So meeting them Richard put me at ease at first. I was in Richard Donner's office. Richard Pryor walked in.
Right.
Donner walks me over and he says, Scotty, this is Richard. Richard, this is Scotty. And I said, Mr. Pryor, it's nice to meet you. He said, don't ever call me that again. Call me Richard, Rich, Dick. I don't care what you call me. Just don't call me Mr. Pryor. That was my father. That was the end of that. So it put me at ease. Meeting Gleason was a little bit different because I had already gotten the film and we were in Louisiana and we went to see him at the hotel. And he had the presidential suite there. Mm-hmm. So there's the big conference table, and he's sitting next to me. And even before the hello, how you doing, any of that stuff, Richard Donner says to me, Scotty, do that thing for Mr. Gleason you did for me, the sheriff thing you do, whatever. So I got up, and I'm standing right next to Gleason, and I'm still shorter than he is, even sitting down at that point. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at him. The first thing I ever said to him was, there's no way that you could come from my loins. First thing I do when we get home is going to punch your mama in the mouth. Well, he started laughing because he was getting a kick out of the fact this 4'5" kid who weighed all of 54 pounds did him.
Yeah.
So then he wanted me to continue, and I was just doing it, and everybody's laughing. And I had every inflection and all the little things that he did. I had everything down. And he took that as a sign of love. Mm-hmm. So, people told me Gleason hates working with kids and animals. They told me that before I started the movie. But he warmed up to me and shined to me immediately. So they made it a blast.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Awesome. It really is. Now, you shot it in Louisiana?
Yeah, East Baton Rouge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still, believe it or not, talk to the guys that were down there that were Richard's security, and they were East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department guys. My friends James and Dale, they're still down there, and they're still doing their thing. All these years later, love them to death.
That's fantastic. That really is. Awesome. Those bonds you make when you make a movie with people, it's just really great.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Amazing.
James went to film school, so I mean he's got familiarity with that. I'm just like
I grew up in a projection booth, so I kind of have a similar.
Oh
deal.
God, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean I went to movie clubs with my dad.
Right.
Every Saturday there were kids that went out bike riding with their fathers. They went BMX, they went fishing or hunting or whatever it was. My dad was a movie guy, so we would get up 9:30 in the morning. We'd be out the door by 10. We'd be in Manhattan by 11. We would go to a place called Town Hall on 43rd and Broadway. See a couple of movies, grab a couple of hot dogs, go to 42nd Street, see a double feature. I saw every piece of crap kung fu picture from 1973 to about 1978, 79.
Oh, man.
Every horror picture didn't matter. It was rated R. That didn't matter. Mm-hmm. My father brought me stuff I never should have seen in the 70s, but we watched movies. And then we would go from there. We'd have dinner. Then we would go to a club just outside the Lincoln Tunnel, in Manhattan, and we would be there till 1 o'clock in the morning. I did this every Saturday for years. So I saw movie after movie after TV show and every kind of, the old serials and the Abbott and Costellos and the Charlie Chans and all of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And you could never do that with kids now.
No,
kidding
but
me?
I've heard that from
my kids.
Her
favorite movie is Terminator 2.
Great movie. Great pinball machine, actually. I love that pinball machine.
One of the best. Yeah, that and Addams Family.
I was going to school in New York during my high school years, 2 of my years during high school. And the 52nd Street Arcade, right off Broadway and 42nd Street, they had a pinball tournament. And I actually won the pinball tournament playing the Terminator 2 pinball machine. And I have a little proclamation that they gave me that I'm an official pinball wizard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had the Addams Family pinball game at the movie theater I used to work at. And we just sat all the whenever you start the last movie, you got a couple hours before the next one drops, and just sit there and throw quarters in that thing all day. It was awesome.
Some of the best actors and comedians, I mean, a lot of them started out with that kind of thing. I mean, Joey Diaz talks about it all the time, especially the kung fu stuff, man. Like, I loved kung fu movies whenever I was a kid. But for me, I watched, pretty religiously the Superman movies. Like over and over. I think I wore out like a bunch of the tapes, the first, 3.
But you're talking about Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman. Okay.
Gene Hackman and Jack O'Halloran in the first and second one, and then Richard in the third one. Like,
I mean, I'll take you back to Kirk Allen in the 40s doing Superman. Superman versus Adam Man. I mean, that was the stuff that I watched growing up.
Yeah.
Well, at nighttime, like once I hit, I think it was like 6 or 7. Whenever we moved out of my my mama's house into our own little apartment, like I'd stay up late at night and watch Nick at Night and watch that old stuff, the old Batman, Mr. Ed, the old Superman was on.
George Reeves in the
with
60s.
George Reeves from the 60s. Yeah, like just so much. God, there's so much good content out there that like nobody ever gets to see anymore because they're flooded with all this, in my opinion, ridiculous.
Oh, I agree, but it's tough to get anybody under the age of 30 to really sit down and watch black and white. Because to them it's just completely foreign, and it's like, what is this? Now, if you sit them down and you say, listen, this is the Maltese Falcon, this is Casablanca, that's one thing. I mean, even Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. They want to watch the color version. I'm like, no, you got to watch the black and white version. There's so much great stuff that was done for so many decades in black and white, and today's kids, they don't have the patience.
Sit and watch.
They'll watch crap, that the reality nonsense, and it's like, no, this is garbage. Fill your head up with good stuff, not crap.
Yeah, my daughter's into musicals. She's been watching that Hamilton thing on Disney Plus for a week and a half, pretty much solid.
Yeah, but get her to watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
Right. Oh yeah, she loves all that
Mickey
old
Rooney
stuff.
And Judy Garland, and get her, that the great musical stuff from back then. Yankee Doodle Dandy with James Cagney, which is one of my all-time favorite films.
My wife is introducing her to the old Newsies tonight to try and break the Hamilton streak, because my wife's like, I can't take, it's so good music, but I just can't take it anymore. And I don't blame her. I can't do musicals for whatever reason. To me, it's just ridiculous. I can't. I'm not a vaudevillian guy. I'm not into. But you go into the old dramatical stuff from the 40s and 50s, and I'm just like,
Sunset Boulevard. I mean, there's just great stuff.
And
Citizen Kane. I mean,
Citizen Kane.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Anybody who can't sit down and watch that movie and not move from beginning to end has no attention span to any kind of good story. Like, I like a good story. You got to have a good story. I don't care if the rest of the movie is crap. One of my all-time favorite movies is this B movie that I can never find. And at one point I finally found the name of it, and I just couldn't find it because I don't think it had been digitized yet. It might be out there now, but it was about, it came out in the 70s, and it was about these aliens that would come to Earth. And they fed off of, the brain in your chemical, basically, that like, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the chemical that splashes through your brain whenever you orgasm during sex. And they realized,
boy, this is way out there,
dude, way out there,
off the rails.
And these aliens realized that like they could also give people heroin to make them have the same feeling, so they could give these drug addicts heroin. They would, do it, and as soon as they
never heard of this
fucking
thing.
What's the
random ass movie I saw on IFC whenever I was like 16 at like 2:00 in the fucking morning, like,
what's it
fucking
called?
high out of my mind, like just watching this movie, like, what the fuck is this? But the story was so good.
James, he's lost it completely at this point.
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm gone, dude. Like, if you get to know me, Scotty, I got crazy fucking stories like this that go for days. Cause man, I was like Hunter S. Thompson of Ohio for a long time. But like, I love a good story, you know. And your second movie, which we'll touch on briefly, because it's probably been beat to death with you and everybody who has.
It's not my second movie. It's my third movie. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well.
I know what IMDb says, but that's not exactly accurate. But go ahead.
Yeah, what's the second one?
Kidco is the second one I did. Which it has been on Fox Family. It's been on cable a whole bunch of times. All that. It's the movie that I'm really most proud of for my performance because of all the things that I did on it. But I know the movie you want to talk about, Matt. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna breeze through it because I mean, you were in A Christmas Story. You got your tongue stuck to a pole. I mean, that's an iconic Christmas movie, and I know people have beat it to death with you. The only thing I want to ask you is, did your tongue really get stuck to the pole?
No.
Okay.
No, it was a plastic pole with a suction tube and all
Like
that
a
kind of
vacuum
stuff.
cleaner or something.
I mean,
right?
that's got to make you giggle like a motherfucker every time you see, like, you hear somebody with a story of, I totally tried that and it worked and it was bullshit.
Oh no,
And you just-
it does work, and it's not that I giggle, but I just sort of tell them, I'm like, if you really did it because you saw me do it in a movie, you're a schmuck, because you know, you don't do things that are in movies. You know, you're going to start doing Mission Impossible stuff, jumping from a helicopter to a building. No, of course not. So this was, I think it's now 2 Christmases ago. I'm in Naperville, Illinois, and a kid standing in front of me with his family behind him. And he's like, hey, you know, did you happen to read the newspaper a couple weeks ago? You know, this kid did it. And I said, actually, I didn't read it, but they actually called me about it. The Sun Times had called me, Chicago Sun Times, whatever. And I said, the kid is a schmuck. And he goes, oh, that's me. That's me. So now I had a victim in my hands, in my grasp. He's standing in front of me. So we talked, and him and his family were very friendly. And I'm doing a Q&A before the movie. You know, there were going to be 3 showings that day, and he came for the first showing. I wouldn't let him leave. I told his parents, I said, listen, you guys are going to stay. The place, they have food readily available, good, you know, pizza and chicken fingers. And I said, you guys have to stay because I'm taking your son on stage with me every show to show him off that he really did this. And I mean, the audiences loved it, you know, because I basically made him into the idiot that he was. He was a nice kid, though. So, I mean, I didn't clobber him.
Yeah.
You know, and I gave him a hug at the end of every show going, you know, this ain't personal. I just had to laugh at you, you know.
I mean, you have to. You have no choice. Like, I'm kind of a dark, cynical comic. And to me, just every time I read one of those stories, I'm like, come on, you're so stupid. Because I don't know how many kids I tried to convince to do that shit whenever I was a kid. And they're like, oh, no.
But they did it.
The
40s, the 50s, the 60s, there were kids that made their friends, oh, you got to do that, you know. They didn't necessarily triple dog dare them, but they just said, hey, you know, we're going to dare you to do this.
Well, we had our own. Ours was whenever I was a kid and that young was like, hey, I bet you won't eat your goldfish.
Yeah.
That was our big one, was the goldfish. I ate a lot of goldfish. A lot of goldfish.
That's what made you happy.
No, I mean, I was just that dumb kid whenever I was really young, and people would be like, oh, you don't got a hair on your nuts. I'd be like, motherfucker, yes, I do.
Yeah. I was more of the crazy one, and I just did stuff. Nobody had to dare me to do it. I grew up in Central Jersey, you know, when I was 7 years old. My family moved into a house. And when it would snow, a really good snow, 3-4 feet of snow on the ground, I would go up to the roof of my house and jump off the roof like Jimmy Superfly Snuka into the snow. That's how I was crazy.
That's awesome.
And that's fun though, man. Kids these days,
yeah,
they're never gonna get to experience that shit because their parents will go to fucking jail if they let them do that shit.
Nobody knew I did it, you know. Just my friends knew, but that was it, you know.
Yeah, I got caught one time whenever I was a kid trying to like Spider-Man my way out my window across the roof to go wander off through the neighborhood to burn a doobie. When I think I was like 16 or 17, it was right before I left home. And my mom comes out on the deck and she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I was gonna go for a walk."
Yeah.
Fucking man, you could be a crazy kid like all the way up until like, you know, the end of the 90s, and now it's like prison time if you do
anything.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
Even if you did something years ago.
Right. And I mean, I wonder how many years movies like A Christmas Story and The Toy and that kind of thing are even going to be able to be shown on TV.
Oh
Like,
no,
there's
they'll show them forever. I mean, you know, there's nothing truly bad in the toy. You know, you can kind of say, "Oh, well, it's slavery." No, it's not. Come on, nobody's getting tied up and told to go pick cotton. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah,
it's
no.
compensation
It
involved.
pointed to it. It showed you, hey, there's still people out here who are like this, you know, and that's.
I mean, there are a group of people, you know, that say it's not one of Richard's good films. It's because of the content of the film, and he just did it. And I said, wait a minute. He was getting $3.5 million to shoot this movie. Okay, in 1982, sign me up. Anybody.
If you listen to Richard's autobiography, he was super behind the movie. He loved. I actually just listened to his autobiography on audiobook like a couple weeks ago, and it was. I mean, it was one of the things that he talked about was that, you know, he had no problem doing that movie. He knew what it was about.
The fun thing is that, I mean, we remained friends until he passed, you know, and I moved to California in '87 and met up with him a couple months later and started going over his house and talking and chit chat and stuff like that. He had a blast, you know, and he said to me, he said, you know, we talked about Gleason, and Gleason was not much of a people person at that point. He was older already, you know, and fine. I mean, he did a lot of things for me that, like I said, just I don't think he would have done for anybody else. Taught me how to shoot pool, told me about George M. Cohan and Al Jolson. I mean, great conversations we had.
Jeez,
But
Jackie Gleason
Richard
teaching you how to shoot.
loved doing it, and then went to do Superman 3 right afterwards. Literally within a week, he went from Louisiana to California to England to shoot Superman 3. And he said to me, that was a paycheck.
Yeah.
When he did moving at the end, that was a paycheck.
Acting
Now, there were
is a job.
things that
A lot
he
of
just
people
said
forget.
to me, I did for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of understand that has a house, nice cars, wives, lots of kids, got child support to pay. Of course you take the paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there are people, I only take a certain kind of movie. I only act in certain kind of films. Good for you. Enjoy. You know, I mean, I was talking to somebody else and they were talking about Samuel L. Jackson. I said, I have the ultimate respect for this man. He is the biggest whore I've ever seen.
Oh, I love him so much.
But I
He does
say it with
fucking
all
anything.
But I say it with all respect because he understands the game of life. You see, you do another movie, you do another film, you do another TV show, whatever it is. It's another residual check.
Right.
He's done hundreds of jobs. That means he's getting hundreds of residual checks. You know, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, but doesn't matter. If you got 100 jobs and your residual check is $12 a week, that's $1,200 a week. That's $60,000 a year. He didn't leave his house.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you never know when it's going to get taken away, just like now.
Exactly.
Like,
you know, I mean, I saw Kevin Hart on a commercial today. I'm cracking up. Kevin Hart's in every movie now. They need a black guy. Who are we going to hire? Kevin Hart. Okay, fine.
Right.
And Kevin Hart does it. He understands. Let me do 50 shows and 50 movies, and once I hit 60 years old, I don't ever have to work again. I can sit at home if I want to and just get hundreds of residual checks. God bless him.
And do the fun stuff that Samuel L. Jackson wants to do. I mean, my favorite thing that Sam has ever done, I mean, you know, cut out all the best thing he's ever done, I think, is that Capital One commercial where everybody's like yelling at him. But like, hey, you remember that time in that movie where you did that thing? Yeah, my fucking kid did that. Fuck you, Samuel L. Jackson. It's like, yes!
Paychecks.
He can laugh at himself, and usually when you're that famous, you can't do that anymore. It's not a direct laughing at oneself, but there was a quote that Sammy Davis Jr. did when he was roasted, and he said, if people aren't making fun of you, that means they don't love you. Yeah.
Right.
So he could laugh at everything that he had done and accomplished because people made fun of him for a lot of the things. But he understood it's a joke. It's laughter. It's humor. It's not meant to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, being able to, you know, have self-deprecating humor, you know, is one of the best things there is. I mean, I'm 5'2" tall, you know, and my last name is Schwartz. Okay. And I'm Jewish. Okay. Now, if you know the history of languages, Schwartz, I come from, my family's from Poland, Russia, and Eastern Europe. Okay. Schwartz is Schwartz, and that means black. So I tell people, I'm definitely Jewish. I'm definitely Schwartz from the waist up, but I'm Jewish from the waist down. You see, that's self-deprecating humor. That's okay. Have fun. Enjoy life every day. Make jokes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
man. That's what I do. That's the
Do
point.
better than yesterday. That's what I try and do.
Yep.
What else, Matt? Come on, baby.
What else
Hold
we
on,
got, Matt?
my wife just walked in. What's up?
Wife's walking
She's
in.
glaring at me.
We're in the middle of a very important interview.
I guess this is the editing portion of
It
the
was,
show.
yeah, it's gonna get cut out. Sorry, man. I'll text it to you.
Working from home. That's what we got to do.
So yeah. The great thing is, about these roasts and stuff is it's one of the few forms of comedy that's already starting to come back. I know the Comedy Store's got a roast going on pretty soon.
Of who?
Jeff. It's two people. It's like a roast battle. Her name's Remy. Damn it, she's gonna be one of our guests actually here in a week or so. Remy
I used to work at the Comedy Store.
No way. Really?
I worked there from April of 88 until March of 90.
Wow.
Shit. So I was there during what they call one of the golden eras of the club.
Prime time.
When we had
that was
Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay, Yakov Smirnoff, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, Paul Mooney, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Roseanne Barr, Finus Henderson, Roger Bear, Jeff Altman,
My God.
Harry Basil.
that
It
like?
just went on and on and on.
How was that? That was fun.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I've never been a drinker, not an alcoholic, not a drinker, not a big enjoyer of alcoholic beverages. Once in a while, okay, fine, but not on a regular basis. So my thing at the Comedy Store was hot chocolate. I drink hot chocolate all the time. I don't care if it was the dead of summer. It was 11 o'clock at night. I'm having a hot chocolate.
Right.
I used to sit in the front of the original room at the Comedy Store with Jim Carrey.
yeah.
And he'd say, I don't get it. People this and Dice is doing that. And Sam Kinison. I said, Jim, I used to call him Jimmy. I used to say, Jimmy, when they figure out how funny you are, none of these guys are going to be able to touch you. Little did I know what was going to happen to them.
Yeah.
But I saw the $10 million check and the whole spiel and all that kind of stuff. But, it was day after day. I was there the night that Sam Kinison and Dice got in the fight. And Sam put a bullet hole in the back sign at the back of the original room. The back of the walkway. Right? I was there that night. I was there for the insanity and crazy time.
Oh, my God.
And he's one of my other huge heroes. Every time I'm on stage, I have to literally fight the urge to just yell very loudly at people, because that aspect of his shows, I even think about it, tears start to come out of my eyes.
On stage, Sam was an absolute genius. Off stage, he could have been sweetheart and he could have been the devil. It was just depending on what Sam
where you caught him at.
You got. I work in the main room. It was a Monday night, and Richard was coming in. I knew Richard was going to perform. So one of the waitresses came up to me, hey, Richard's here. He's in the back in the green room. I said, okay. So I told my buddy Paul, who was working the room with me, I'm going to go say hi to Richard. So I go in the back, and it's Richard Pryor, his wife Jennifer, Robin Williams, and Sam Kinison, and me. So it's the five of us in the back. And a couple minutes later, guy comes in, okay, So I open up the door. I'm holding the door so everybody can go out, do their thing. So if you went dead straight ahead to the end and you went to the left, that was where you could watch the show. If you went right out and made a quick left, that was the curtain behind the main room stage. So I hold the door. Robin goes out, makes a quick left. He goes to the stage. Sam goes out, makes a quick left, go to the stage. Jennifer goes dead straight out. I'm standing there. Richard looks at me and he goes, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm working, man. I'm making my $35 for the night here, whatever. He goes, no, you're not working right now. So he grabs me and pulls me through the curtain. And there's 2 steps at the back of the main room stage for those who haven't been to the Comedy Store.
Mm-hmm.
Richard and I sit down, and in front of us is Sam Kinison and Robin Williams. And they do 25, 27 minutes. And it's a roar. I mean, it was hysterical. So Sam turns around and he hands the microphone to Richard. So Richard gets up. Now it's Richard and Robin, and Sam is sitting next to me. And it's another 25 minutes of just hysterics. Robin turns around and he hands me the mic. And I looked at him and I said,
shit.
And what do you want me to do? As if I'm in their caliber, I belong here. And he goes, that's your buddy. Go get him. Go get him. So he sits down, and I get up to the front of the stage, and Richard was looking out. He wasn't turned toward me. He turns, he sees me, and he goes, oh, you want some of this? Well, he starts tearing into me like you can't believe, talking about my penis size before puberty and girls and this. I mean, he's just tearing me a new behind like you've never seen. I have to respond, and it's Richard. Well, I start talking about the production assistants he's stupping and the extras he's stupping and all this stuff, and I'm tearing him up. Well, he just starts losing it. Robin and Sam are just rolling. We did like 20, 25 minutes. And finally, Richard's like, okay, I'm done. That's enough. You know, everybody happy, and the place is packed, you know, for a Monday night. It was, you know,
God.
free entrance night. You had to buy 2 drinks, whatever. And we all took a bow, and I get off the stage. And Robin looks at me and he goes, you did good. You did good. And Sam gave me a hug, and Richard gave me a hug and a kiss. He goes, that's my boy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Before cell phones, before cell phone cameras, before anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other than video, but they didn't have a blank tape there.
Oh, God.
So the
Before
only thing I
social
have is a
distancing
memory,
and
and the
masks.
fact that the guy who was in the spotlight, you know, his name is Jay. He lives back east. He lives in Jersey. He reconnected with me on Facebook.
Hmm.
And the first thing he said to me was, hey, Scotty, I don't know if you remember me, but I was up in the spot when you did the thing with Richard, Robin, and Sam. And I said, oh, my God, you're still alive. Thank God. I have somebody to back up my story.
Oh, my God, everybody's dead in the store. Oh.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and they all went out with a fucking bang.
Well,
Literally. Yeah.
Robin went out in his own way. Sam was killed by a drunk driver, and Richard, MS, you know.
That's the one.
Fucking crazy.
Getting older, man.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think that, you know, they're all gone. I'm still here, and I'm fortunate enough that I can tell the stories of how nuts they all were and how much fun I had with them and what kind of people they were.
It's important for people to hear that kind of stuff because, I mean, you know,
Richard would have loved what's going on right now in the world. The material he would have had would have been so psychotic. People would have been scratching their heads, laughing their asses off on the floor.
Can you imagine Sam being still alive and kicking? Just the shit he would be literally yelling at the top of his lungs right now. I mean, so...
You know what?
So I've got it.
They were all sensible and logical headed people. If you're sensible and logical, you make sense. And part of the things that Richard taught me was you always be logical and sensible because you're playing to somebody's emotions and their feelings. Right. And if you're logical and sensible, they can't ever say you're crazy. You know, just always say logical and sensible.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, up until now. I can always say you're fucking crazy. Even if you make perfect sense. Even if you're a doctor. Yeah.
So we'll jump ahead in the wonderful life of Scott Schwartz because I mean there was a lot of adventures that you went on, you know, for the next, I don't know, for fucking ever because we've barely even nicked your experience. I mean, you've been around for such a long fucking time and done a lot of different stuff. What are you doing now? I mean, what are you up to now? I know you've got
a goddamn thing like everybody else. No,
you had the quarantine bunch. I mean, I
did
found
have a quarantine bunch. That was cute. That was a cute thing. That was, you know, a very well written little internet type show, and because we were all quarantined, so it was kind of like we all just stayed in our own houses and we all did the Zoom thing and They made a show of it. I'm actually working on an episodic right now. You know, finishing,
Nice.
getting it written, and you know, starring me and Todd Bridges.
Oh, nice.
That's the bin, right? I
Nope.
believe.
Nope. It ain't nowhere because
Nah, you ain't. It's super that early. Awesome.
it's in the, you know, the financing is starting to come together, and
Mhm.
the writing is the you know, the pilot episode's starting to get done. But you know, Todd and I have been just aching to do something together for decades.
Right.
And it was just a thing. A production company came to me and said, "Hey, listen, we're big fans. You know, is there anything you want to do?" And I kind of said, "Well, I kind of got this idea for a show." And they kind of went, "That's really funny, especially in today. You know, me and Todd. You know,
Right.
being opposites again. You know, so there's a lot of the jokes and a lot of the things that we can do that will not be PC. You know, and anybody who knows anything about me or my background, you know, anybody wants to call me racist, you know, that's like the furthest thing on God's green earth,
Right.
you know. And being that my muse, my mentor, my teacher was Richard Pryor, you know, it's
Yeah.
like you
Kinda hard to
want to
argue.
blame me for the insanity and the craziness that and what's inside me. You know who to blame, you know.
You got your start at 13 with one of the craziest motherfuckers ever to live, and we're friends with him for a long fucking time.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
just
I miss him. Trust me. I wish he was here so I could share some of the things that have happened to me over the course of the years. You know, the fun stuff that I did, be it WWF back in the day with Hulk Hogan and Randy Piper and Randy Macho Man Savage and Miss Elizabeth and all
man.
that stuff. You know,
That's a
all
whole
the way
nother era.
through today. You know,
yeah.
What was that like?
it was great. I was free help.
Free
I
help.
met Big John Studd at a audition. He was the guy that always fought Andre the Giant. I met him at an audition for the movie The Money Pit. Tom Hanks and Shelley Long.
Yes. Oh my God.
Neither one of us got the job. Neither one of us got the job, but we met at
Right.
the audition, and he was a fan. He loved the toy,
Mhm.
you know, and so he invited me to to Saturday Night Main Event in the Meadowlands, and where Uncle Elmer got married. If you know your wrestling.
Jeez.
And they brought me in the back, and I started meeting the guys, and they said, "Hey, you know, we're going to be at the Spectrum next week in Philly. Why don't you come down?" So, okay, fine. So I went down there, and one of the guys said, "Oh, geez, you know, so-and-so needs a hot dog." And I'd go get him a hot dog. I got no ego. I got to get him a hot dog. So I went and got Magnificent Morocco a couple of hot dogs. Okay, fine. And the next thing you know, I'd say, "Scotty, you know, if you want to come out with us, just let us know. We'll always have you a pass and come out." And that was 15 months.
Holy
I was
shit.
flying places. I wasn't even going home after school. I'd leave school, go to Newark Airport, jump on a flight down to Dulles in Baltimore, get a car. I wasn't even 21 yet. It cost me $10 a day extra for insurance. The guys would always cover my insurance, you know.
$10 a day.
Yeah, for insurance. And I I was only there for
How old
one
are you
night
at the
anyway,
time?
you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, Randy Savage would call me on the phone. "Scotty, what are you doing? You're picking me up 2:30 tomorrow at the Delta," you know. So I did that. I was not paid. I was not an official employee,
Right.
you know, but I did get to meet everybody, and I became friendly with Vince and, you know, everybody else. So here we are.
That's fucking fun.
Oh,
Holy shit.
That's
That's
a lot of fun.
amazing.
That was, I mean, and that was back whenever wrestling was fucking wild.
ah.
Yeah, it was back when
It was nutty because I give you the most wildest drive I ever had. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and I had to pick up Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Nikolai Volkov.
Mhm.
That's what I thought I was picking up. So I get over the airport. There's Jim, there's Nikolai, and there's another guy with them, whatever. So we get in the car, and some guys like air conditioning, some guys like fresh air. That's just the way that goes.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted the air on. Okay, fine. So I got the windows closed, and I got the air conditioning on. And they light up a doobie. And Neidhart starts smoking a doobie, and he gives another doobie to Nikolai, and they're smoking a fatty. The smoke is in the car. I could barely see out the front. This is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So I start opening up the window. And Jim's like, "What are you doing?" "Jim, I got to let some of the smoke out, dude. I can't see it." Oh, no, no, no. You got to keep the smoke in the car. Jim, you can't do this to me. I got to be able to drive. I can't see. So I had the window just cracked open and smoke's coming out of the window. You know, thank God we never got pulled over. But the last 4 or 5 miles of that drive, I'm telling you, I'm going like this in front of me in the car so I can see out the window.
Oh, my God. It's as high as a kite.
That's fucking funny. We used to have something similar like that here in Central Ohio. I don't know if the kids do it nowadays anymore, but we called it the 270 Bakeout. So Columbus, Ohio has this highway that goes all the way around the outside. And what we would do is we would enter at one point, and until you got all the way around the city and back, you couldn't roll down the windows. And you couldn't stop smoking the entire time. It's like at least 30 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic, of just fucking locked in. I don't know how we survived that shit. Anybody, because there's a lot of people I know that did it back in the day.
There's a lot of people that got a lot of stuff that today they would look back and go, how the hell why did I do that? Oh my God, was I crazy? No, we just did it. We
used to drive just in the country. We would just go and start driving. I remember one time a cop got behind us and we got so paranoid we threw all our shit out the window. And it turned out he didn't even pull us over. So we had to go back and walk down the side of the street. It's just, but we were idiots. Like, who goes and drives around and gets fucked up? Like, that's just idiotic teenage shit. I love it.
The good old days.
But Jesus, we weren't doing it with wrestlers. That was awesome.
No, although one time I did in Universal Studios Orlando at like a hotel. I'm not going to say who the guy's name it was, but it was like one of the few times whenever I was selling magazines, I did drugs. And it was just because I ran into this guy with two of my friends, and he was like, hey, you guys want to hang out with me, these strippers, and smoke crack? And I was like,
oh, Jesus.
Fuck it. Let's go. Why the fuck not? And then that was a really interesting fucking night. Wow. You know, but whatever. It was a good time.
That was like my first short film was about how bad crack is.
No, I mean, I was fortunate that I worked with a lot of people, got to meet a lot of great people, and had a lot of just incredible experiences along the journey. You know, I don't really have any bad tales, you know, like some do. You know, mine was 98% good. Yeah, there were a couple assholes, but oh well, that's life.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood's a weird fucking place. And that's where the weirdest people on the planet seem to end up. So, you know, listen, it's wild.
I'm living the life of Neil Diamond. This is I said. LA's fine, but it ain't home. New York's home, but it ain't mine no more. I grew up in Jersey. I moved out here. I've been in California for 30 years. I'm still a Jersey boy.
Right.
You know, I will never turn into anything more than what I am.
Hey, man, I get that feeling. I'm originally from West Virginia, and no matter where I end up, that's still what I claim. But I'm certain I'm slowly coming to the realization. And actually, you know, I started to, and now I don't, because, you know, there's a lot of comics people in my profession who were fucking leaving LA. I've heard 2 people say really serious things about it, and it makes me wonder how many other people are going to exodus their way out because of the coronavirus and whatever else, you know. It's like,
it's hitting you guys hard out there, isn't it?
Dude,
it depends on the area you're in. I'm not in LA County.
Yeah, and that's what's weird.
It's not nearly as for where I am. You know,
and
but
some of the guys, you know, who were talking about leaving, that's why. It's because like there's literally parts of California where they can't fucking work, and they're like, I'm not going to go work over there, because if I can't work here, why can I work over fucking there? All those people are going to come over here.
Of course.
You know? So they're like, what the fuck do we do? You got like Joe Rogan, who's flat out said, I'm not doing shit for a year. Joey Diaz is like, I don't know, cocksuckers. Go subscribe to my Patreon. That's what we fucking got right now. It's $1 a month.
Hey, listen, you know, everybody's different. I mean, Joe's got a monster podcast. Someday I look forward to doing his podcast and having some fun with him. You know, I was at the Comedy Store before he was the big headliner, you know. But there are other guys that they got to eat, you know. They still got to pay some bills. They still got to eat. They got to take care of their kids. So they'll go to Texas or they'll go to Oklahoma or Mississippi or wherever and still do gigs. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where I ended up. I'm like, I don't really ever have to actually leave Ohio. I think I'm going to be fine here. I'm getting paid to do shows. And you can fucking travel. So
I've traveled. You know,
is what it is.
significant other is in Kentucky, so I got to go see her. You know,
Even if the promoters can't always get my.
Oh, so you've been traveling
flyer
since the lockdown?
you know. But right now, I mean, I'm a Jersey guy. I can't go there. It's just too much of a hot spot, and it breaks my
Right.
heart. This is the longest. I mean, I have not been to New Jersey since February, so 5
Really?
months is the longest I haven't been to Jersey in 30 years.
I couldn't
Over 30
imagine
years.
what you're going through with that, because I mean, I know a lot of people from Jersey. I spent a lot of time in Jersey, selling things door to door. That place is fucking awesome. And
I grew up in the middle of New Jersey, a little town called Bridgewater. It's kind of centralized, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody had an acre of land, and everybody had, you know, we had houses and all that kind of stuff, and it was a gorgeous place to grow up. You know, I loved it and I miss it. Now the taxes I don't miss.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
You know,
that's
taxes
why
I
I
don't
would
miss.
never move to New England. I love New England.
Yeah, no.
I don't give a fuck about the 6 feet of snow, but like the cost, just the sheer cost of living is insane.
No, I
But it's-
can't. I would move back to a cold weather state again. I did that once
No.
already. I'm too freaking old to go back and do that again. So I
Yeah,
mean, I've
fuck
looked at
that.
like southern Tennessee, which gets a little cold, but not crazy. You know, I've looked at different parts of you know, Texas.
Texas
You know,
is
again,
nice.
some get a little bit of cold, but not crazy. Not like, you know, Jersey crazy or Chicago or Manhattan.
It gets hot
Yeah.
in Texas, though.
Woo!
Holy
It's
cow,
real
does it
hot.
get hot in Texas?
Depends
got
on what
roped
part of
back in.
Texas.
That is true. That is
Austin's
true.
nice. There's a lot of hot chicks out there.
San
Yeah.
Antonio is incredibly humid, which was weird.
Yep.
But it's got that
As is
huge
Corpus
river.
Christi is incredibly humid.
Right.
You know, I spent time there. I spent time in Houston, in Dallas, Austin, Plano, which is outside of Dallas, you know.
Yeah, Plano's fun. Man, I liked Plano before it got all built up. Like, I remember, do you remember Austin Ranch whenever it first started? Whenever they first started building it, right outside of Plano. It was that huge 14-phase development that has its own zip code. It's basically its own city now. When they first started building it, the only thing they had built were like these two L-shaped door-to-door apartment complexes that had these massive chess pieces in it. And it was basically everybody rich in Dallas that was young moved into it. And I sold magazines at the time because, I mean, I did it for fucking ever, and we did it everywhere. Man, like you would just hanging out in those two buildings at night with all those young ass fuckers having a good time. God, dude, that was so much fun. But now
I went there mostly for business. You know, I was there in the early 90s. So I mean,
Okay, yeah,
I
this
spent
was
a
much
little
later.
bit of time. Yeah, no, see, I don't remember because I remember coming out of the airport, going north, and you hit Plano. Okay, fine. You know, and then I would go south of the airport where a friend of mine lived. He was in Euless.
Yeah, useless. They call it useless for a reason. It's like in the butthole middle of DFW and where all the stewardesses live.
Yeah, he lived in a good place. He was a single guy and he had his fun.
It's nice, man. It's a nice city. I mean, I you know, I can honestly say I've been in 48 of the 50 states. There's not too many places that I would not go back to.
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
There's not fucking much up there, but the people are so nice.
Yeah.
They're
have to be.
pretty racist, but they're nice.
Pretty racist.
You're going to
Pretty
find that
racist.
anywhere, though, unfortunately.
Well, anywhere that, you know, that underdeveloped. I mean, it's a country. It's an entire state of country folks. They don't
Yeah.
give a fuck. They're just
Right.
living their life trying to survive. You give a fuck about mostly anything outside of making it through the winter in a state like fucking North Dakota. Like,
Minnesota.
Like that across the country.
yeah.
20, 30 minutes outside of any city, and everything's just gotten so.
I went to
country.
an the NBA All-Star game in Minnesota in '96, and it was like 28 degrees below zero. I mean, it was just insane. I'm like, who picked this? What were you thinking?
Nobody
People
was
who are
thinking about
crazy
that
as fuck.
situation.
Oh,
I dragged my kids from Northeast Arkansas to the cold, and I'm like, you guys are going to graduate high school up here in Ohio, motherfuckers. You're going to experience this shit. This is
Wow.
what real life's like.
I got
And
roped
last
back
year
in.
was really mild, but I can't wait. I'm really hoping this winter we get a good couple 3 feet, couple different times, so they could be like,
Yeah.
it's not so bad.
I don't want to
Let's
see
hope
3
not.
feet ever again. And unfortunately, being
fuck
in
that.
the Christmas story, I'm doing appearances or signings in Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Chicago, the New York area, New England, Rhode Island, and it's October, November, December, and I'm freezing my tushy off for a couple days.
Perfect time of year to be doing that stuff.
Oh yeah, especially in those parts of the country.
Wasn't it in Cleveland too?
The movie?
Yeah.
Which
I don't
one?
Remember.
Christmas Story didn't it take place in Cleveland?
That's where the movie
Was
we
shot,
shot
right?
part of the film in
Yeah.
Cleveland. Yeah, we shot in Cleveland and we shot it in Canada, Toronto and St. Catharines, and it was
Yeah, I've been to
brutal.
the house.
Canada was brutal. Cleveland was cold, but they did not have any snow. So it's like some of the scenes in the film that you see, the Higbee Square scene, or the beginning scenes in the film with Ralphie coming out of the house and Randy falls down the snowsuit and all that. That was fake snow.
Right.
That was fake snow that they just had. It was like a foam, and they just sprayed it on the ground and it looked like snow. But it was fake. They had no snow. But man, Canada was just brutal.
It's fucking nasty up there.
Yeah.
Like we think we have winter, but there's nothing like that.
Oh no, people have no clue. I shouldn't say that. You live in Chicago, Minneapolis, you understand bitter cold. You understand 20, 25 below zero. Now myself, Scott Farkas, the bully, and the kid that played Randy, the little brother, we actually did a gig in Alaska. A little town called Galena, Alaska.
Yeah.
And you went up to Anchorage on a regular 737 regular jet.
Right.
And then we had to take a prop job from Anchorage up to Galena, Alaska, a 12-seat prop job. And the guy flew us through, the snow peaks and all this, and it was incredible. But we got off the plane. It was 40 below zero.
Holy shit.
Now, here's the fun part. I'm in a heavy jacket. I got a sweater, a T-shirt, whatever, okay? Gloves, okay, fine. We got off the plane. There's no baggage. Don't think of a regular airport. There's no such thing as the baggage department. They took a forklift, and they brought out the bag, and they dropped it next to the plane. They say, okay, there's your bag. So we grabbed the bag, and the guy comes over. The airport was all of a 20 by 20 building, 40 by 40. It was tiny.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a sweater. He's not even wearing a jacket. And we got into his truck. He had to keep the car running, otherwise the motor will freeze.
Yeah.
So we get in his car, and I said, "My God, man, you brought us up here. You're spending all this money. You can't even afford a jacket." And he's like, "No, this isn't cold. When it gets to 50 below, then I put the jacket on." Okay, you win.
Yeah, they're a different kind of fucking people up there, man.
Yeah, the cold changes you.
God bless them. They were nice people. They all worked on the pipeline. They all worked for the government. Right. They all worked on the pipeline. They were making stupid money, like $180 to $250 an hour.
Oh, geez.
Their housing was health paid by the government. 2, 3, 4 bedroom homes. How much is your rent? $300 a month.
Oh yeah, those guys up there, they ball out of control.
Different everything. Like no 7-Eleven, no Circle K. There's one gas station. There's one grocery store. They said we have one restaurant. They have a restaurant bar.
Oh man.
Okay, let's go see the restaurant bar. You walked in, the bar is to the left, and it's your typical mom and pop kind of a bar. You got your rail, and that's it, right? The restaurant is like a bowling alley restaurant. They make pizza, they make fried wings, they make French fries and hamburgers. That's their restaurant.
A deep fryer and a microwave.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It's not like you can really, truck in a lot of fucking supplies and stuff at those places.
No, they had the one plane a day that came in, and the mayor owned the grocery store. So he came over and he would take the forklift, put it in the back of a truck. They would truck it over to the grocery store. And his wife worked she ran the grocery store for him. But it's one store. You know, you want a gallon of milk, it's $12. You know, it's the weight, based on weight. They can only get so much weight on the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that remote, it might as well be in an island in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Except the island would probably be a lot warmer and a lot less crabby.
I'm over the cold. My bones. I'm too old for this shit.
Being a pussy. Well, Scott, is there anything you want to promote, brother? Because we have hit our hour. Is there, anywhere anybody can find your anything that you want? I mean, this is your time to.
I don't really do heavy social media. I do have a Facebook page, but I don't everybody's friends request because it would just be crazy, But if people want to get a signed picture or something, I do charge people. It's not free because if photos aren't free, postage isn't free. That's what that is. They can find me on Facebook under my name, I do have a Twitter, but I'm almost never on it. And sorry about the plane that went overhead, What can I do?
Cool, man.
At least the planes are still flying, But, I'm normally at Chiller Theater in New Jersey at October and April, but there's no October show. So hopefully in April. And chillertheater.com is their website. And, I'm going to be in Eastern Tennessee in October, but I don't know the name of the show.
Place.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the show, but, listen. People just Google me and find me, and I'm happy to say hi to everybody.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, Scotty, and we absolutely do want to have you back sometime.
You got it, Matt. Thank you, James. No problem. My book will be out next year. Thank you to COVID. That's so much for 2020.
Yeah.
So
I look forward to that.
So many things that I'll be, promoting next year, hopefully, and we'll get back to semi-normal living anyway.
Right. You definitely got a space to promote it, brother.
Thank you, guys. Just stay safe, stay healthy, you and your families. Just be well.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks, man. You too.
Got it.
Well, and hopefully, as part of our egg-cellent adventure.
You seem kind of like a bit wacky. Do you have OCD or would you rather have like ADD? It seems like you may have possibly both of them.
I have a right to be in this debate. Now you sit out and let me do my job. And I have every right to be in this debate. How dare you? I have worked very hard.
Naughty.
The fuck are you doing?
Get your hand off my penis!
I have to go to the fucking hospital.
Holy shit.
There are fucking scissors sticking out of my fucking arm.
Excellent. Naughty.